And welcome to Hero Power. This is episode 298, and I am your host, Avanties. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Zerotio.
What is up, gang? I'm tired.
So, just full transparency, we are recording this at 11:30 p.m. on Friday, February the 18th. Zerotio worked a full day. I did not, but I have to get up in the morning and drive like 3 hours. So, this was the only time we could really squeeze this episode in for you guys.
Yeah, I put in a solid 14-hour days, and the second half of my day was very physical. But I am ready to talk about some cards. This week we're not doing a play portion. We're doing a review of the mini set.
Yes.
And I'm really excited to talk about that. Before we do, how has your week been?
I had a week. I did. I don't remember much of it. It was a blur. A lot of work and not a lot of Hearthstone this week. I did play some more Battlegrounds after the Battleground we played last week on the show. Did all right, but I'm not gonna lie, I have mostly been playing Lost Ark and enjoying the ever-loving hell out of it.
I downloaded it, but I never actually launched it yet. I have been playing a lot of Hearthstone. Well, I say a lot of. All of my free time has been going towards playing Hearthstone. Of course, with 2 jobs, it's not a lot of free time. I've mainly been playing Battlegrounds. I've also been grinding Mercenaries because they have the new Mercenaries. 4 of the new 5 Mercenaries have come out. So I've been working on leveling them up, getting them ready, and also working on my Beast and Dragons for the Chi event that is supposed to happen coming up this Tuesday, the 22nd, to be able to unlock and get a bunch of coins for Chi as well as the other mercenaries that just came out. I think this might be the first mini set or any kind of set launch I didn't spend any money.
So I did buy the mini set for $14.99. I am saving my gold for next expansion because I don't know right now if I'm going to buy that set or not. Obviously I will use my gold to buy packs, so I'm saving it now, and I did spend cash for the mini set, the base version of the mini set.
Yes, I spent 2,000 gold to get the mini set, and then I had 17 packs for mercenaries that were just kind of sitting there that I've been hoarding. And which is kind of the way I go as I unlock as many of the characters I can, and then I just hoard my packs, because packs right now for mercenaries don't really give me any coins I need because I have so many maxed out. Right. So it doesn't make sense for me to open packs of mercenaries unless I specifically need a mercenary, like a full character. So I opened 17 packs and I got all the characters except for one epic.
Oh, okay.
So then I spent the rest of my gold on mercenary packs, and I got the epic. So I'm like, because I told myself I'll spend the rest of my gold, I'll open mercenary packs. If I don't get it, then there is an epic bundle.
So did you like do it 1 pack at a time until you got it, or did you buy a bunch of packs and open those?
I did it 5 at a time.
5 at a time. Okay.
But at the very end, I had 700 gold left. I was like, I'll just get 7 packs because I'm not going to sit there
and hold them until the next.
And I literally opened the last mercenary I needed with 1 pack left. And I just opened that last. Okay. I just went ahead and opened that last pack just because it was sitting there.
Okay.
So it was literally right down to the wire. But I knew I'm not sure exactly how there's a pity timer, but I do know there is kind of a pity timer. I know it's different than the regular packs. It's definitely not the 40 for a legendary or anything like that. But yeah, I was telling myself I probably do a legendary, and I got a not a legendary, epic. I got a lot of portraits too, which is really cool because I like the portraits. I like being able to change up what the character looks like. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of mercenary grinding, and I haven't been able to sit down and do the bounties yet, the new bounties.
Yeah.
That's usually my weekend time. I can't really do that during ETT. Effective toilet time is it's a little more intensive instead of just task grinding. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing, and then lots of battlegrounds, and then I've been playing some standard, which we'll talk about a little bit more when we get into the set
I want to
review.
throw a shout out to one of our patrons, Marspad. He posted in our patron only Discord today, said that he now has all mercs to level 30 and all equipment unlocked, including all the new mercenaries are now
Wow.
maxed. And he issued a challenge and said, "Want to fight me? Bring it."
I have not had a chance to see that. Okay, I see the message now. That definitely was while I was at work. So
yeah,
I'll be working on my my equipment heroics this weekend. Those heroics are, I'll tell you now, the change from task 7 to heroic, doing heroic bounties, I don't personally like. I had no problem grinding out task 7s. It was kind of mindless. It took time, but the amount of energy it takes to formulate a team, and basically you have to build a 5 mercenary team to be able to take down that specific heroic bounty, because the 6 slot needs to be the character, the mercenary that you're unlocking the equipment for.
right.
And most of the time, since they're a fairly new mercenary, and the equipment you're unlocking usually tends to be their best equipment, they're not suitable to
they're not
be very
optimized.
useful.
Yeah, they're not optimized, and they usually at that early, you don't have all the coins needed to fully upgrade their abilities.
So they're really not going to help you in that bounty at all. So you have to, the bounty has to be completed by a 5-person team, essentially.
Yeah.
And Team 5 is obviously still working this out, because they did nerf a lot of the Ultra bounties from the previous patch, because they were just a little too difficult to complete. And I haven't been able to try out these new ones yet. And I've done all of them for the previous except for one. I'm still missing one heroic bounty to complete. And then I'll be done with those. But yeah, I'm not enjoying it as much as I was just a task grinding. Now, I am one of those people that I am unique in the fact that I love to just sit there and mindlessly do the same repetitive task over and over again. I love games like Marvel Strike Force, Raid Shadow Legends to a point. I wish Raid Shadow Legends was more mobile friendly. But I love games like that where you're just kind of mindlessly punching buttons on your phone while you eat dinner or surf the internet or play Hearthstone. I think that's the only thing that I wish I could do, is I wish I could be in my mercenaries while also playing Hearthstone.
Yeah. See, what I usually just throw on something streaming on, Netflix or Paramount Plus or something, and then just fire up, Marvel Strike Force or Raid or Hearthstone on my phone and just mindlessly push buttons, like you said.
See, I love that part.
Yeah.
But the fact that I have to actually formulate a strategy and flawlessly go through these heroics without any real problem. And one other thing I'm learning about these heroics is, I've kind of trained myself to avoid the elite fights so I can get to the boss fights.
Yes. Yeah.
However, in these heroic fights, you need to go through the elite fights, because they give the better treasures that will allow you to beat the boss more easily. There are a couple of the guides say you must go through elite fights to try to get these specific treasures. And so I'm learning you need to go after the elite fight. Now you need to pick them wisely.
Yeah.
If you're going fighter heavy, you want a caster elite. If you're going caster heavy, you want a protector elite and things like that. But it's just so against the way that I like to play like that.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, if I'm going to put that much effort into it, I'm just going to play constructed.
Right.
But it is fun watching some of the YouTube guides and figuring out how to get those fights. I just like the old way. Personally, I'm not saying that
You're not saying one is better than the other. It's just that's the one you prefer.
Just for a lot of people, especially people like Marspad who like to micromanage and put a lot of brain thought into these bounties, it's better for them and more power to them. I'm not going to say they're wrong, but it's just not the way I like to play. If I want to think, I'm going to play standard.
There you
go. But yeah, I guess we kind of get into the news. There's really not much news. Before we get into news, though, a little bit of housekeeping. We will not be having a show next week.
Correct.
Because it is all of our anniversaries. So taking the time off to wedding anniversaries, not for ourselves. We're taking the time off to spend with our loved ones. And then we will be doing episode 299 the following week. And heads up, we do have a big announcement that we will be talking about on episode 299.
Yes.
So be ready for that. But yeah, let's just get into. Well, there isn't much news other than Onyxia's Lair mini set is officially here.
Yeah, as we were just kind of discussing, we already got it. It's in everybody's hands. It's been out for about 4 or 5 days now.
Yeah.
I can say without a doubt, I have not looked at any of these cards yet, other than, what has been posted in our Discord. I have not built any new decks with any of these cards, because I have mostly just been playing Battlegrounds. So I am excited to dig into this and see what's here and get some ideas from you and the rest of the Hero Power patrons about what is fun to play in Standard.
So before we get on to just the rating or reviewing the mini set, my question for you is, do we like this kind of quick drop where they kind of announce it to us and then, drop the cards over a weekend? And then the set goes live that Tuesday?
Absolutely.
We got the announcement Thursday.
Yeah, but but here's the thing. It's not really that different from what they've done in the past. And, back when they were doing BlizzCon, they would announce a set and they'd be like, oh, yeah, by the way, it's available for purchase right now. So, I mean, honestly, yes, the set may not come out for another, 25 days after the announcement, but here we got the announcement. Oh yeah, by the way, it's, going to be available almost immediately. And that's, I think, fantastic. I like that the cards are available. Now, this is just strictly as a casual player. I love having the cards available that quickly. From a competitive standpoint, and we were going to kind of talk a little bit about the new Masters Tour that just started, but I've not watched any of it. I don't know what about, and like I said, I've not played with any of these cards, so I didn't feel like I would be able to speak on anything competitive players are doing in an esports setting with this. So we nixed that. Is them dropping this quickly a big deal for competitive players? Possibly. As a casual player, I love it.
So, and that kind of leads me to a question that I had. Well, first off, my take on it. I think as a mini set, I like the quick drops. Because a lot of times with a full set, They have a little bit more build up. Of course, there's 135 cards to reveal. Then they have the theory crafting streams and all that kind of stuff. I don't like the theory crafting streams for mini sets because I think it's such a small pool of cards. It really doesn't make a lot of sense. And I like that they just kind of go, hey, here's the new theme. Here's the new trailer. We're going to start letting you know cards, tomorrow or as they did this time, later today. They that dropped on a Thursday. And I think we got a small batch of cards that Thursday. They had cards revealed on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday was the big kind of, we got some kind of talks about what the set was and all this, and then it went live on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I think for a mini set, it's perfect. For a full set, I do like the kind of drawn out theatrics of it all. And I personally like the theory crafting streams, but I think for a mini set, I think it's great. Now, the adverse thing is the Masters Tour competitors literally had, I think, like 36 hours with the set. They had like a little bit more than that knowing the cards, but actual testing time, they had 36, I think it was about 36 hours before they had to have deck submissions in. And that's tough.
That's not a lot of time. No.
And as an esports competitor, I don't think I like that. However, as a viewer who has been watching some of these matches, I watched day one. I peeked a little bit into day two when I got home from work tonight before show started. As a viewer, I'm loving the fact that I'm seeing Kazakusan decks. We're seeing decks that are using these new cards, and it also shows you, like, at the end of day one, Luna Love, friend of the show, she was 4-0 after day one.
Oh, wow.
And after 7 rounds of Swiss, she's currently 5-2, so she won't make the top 16. But with this new every win matters, she's going to have a lot of points. So that's obviously people that are really good at figuring out metas quickly and how to tackle them do really well. And Luna Love has previously proven that in short prep time, she's done really well in esports.
Yeah.
So players like that are really exciting to watch because you kind of see that rawness and that creativity. And obviously I've been watching this event because it's not stale. You're seeing a lot of exciting decks, and some of them are cookie cutter decks from the past, but some of the discoverers end up being a little different. Or you actually saw Kazakusan showed up in a deck that didn't even have them in it.
Yeah. Because
of a discover effect. So I like the quick drops for mini sets. I don't want to see that for a full set. Especially, please don't do it in April when we have a rotation and everything, because I want time to prep. I want to watch my favorite content creators that tell me, hey, these are the cards. Here's what we think. This is a 5-star card. This is a 4-star card. These are the type of decks we think are going to be in the new meta. And then the theory crafting streams give us a little insight into that, so that when the set comes out and I get my hands on the cards, I then have an informative viewpoint to go off of instead of just blindly plugging cards into decks.
Right, yeah. No, I'm with you. That, like I said, I enjoyed the quick drop, but yeah, let's we've got quite a few
35
cards, to go through. So
35 cards.
So if you guys are listening on the audio, just like all of our past card reveals, we're going to talk about each of the cards. We're going to break them down. If you are watching us on YouTube, you can follow along, as once again, Zerotio has created a really good slideshow to show you guys all of these cards as we go through it. So it
takes a lot of work. This may be my last one.
Let's hop right into it. First up, we're going to start with the neutral legendary raid boss Onyxia. So this is the 10 mana 8/8 dragon. Rush immune while you control a whelp. Battle cry, summon 6 2/1 whelps with rush.
Yes, so and it's also been figured out that it has to have whelp in the name, and there are a couple other cards that have whelp in the name that aren't the 2/1 rush whelps that she still gets immune with. Now we haven't gotten any insight whether that's a bug or if it's meant or what yet, because we're still fairly fresh into this. So it's very useful. This card, I started including this. So some of the theory crafting decks that came out on day one had Kazakusan, which we'll talk about next, in it, and they went ahead and just plugged Alexstrasza in it because it's 8 damage. It's just 8 damage. It's burst. Well, I decided that instead of including Alexstrasza, I put Raid Boss Onyxia instead because it's actually 10 mana for a total of 20 damage.
Okay.
Because it's an 8/8 with 6/2 attack rush whelps. And it's an 8/8 with rush. So you can do 20 total damage in one turn off of 10 mana. And if you kill all the whelps off and they can't deal with it, the next turn, if you play anything that develops another whelp, she will regain immunity. It's not immunity based on the whelp she summoned.
While you control a whelp.
There are other cards that summon whelps, so if they clear your whelps to take immunity off of her, but they can't clear Onyxia, you can summon more whelps and she's back to being immune.
Yep.
Which has come into play a lot. And I love seeing her light up over and over again where my opponent is reading her going, you know, I had one emote me like, haha, I can clear your minion. And there I see an arrow and it keeps like going to a whelp, and then it would disappear, but then she would be highlighted. Then it would be going to a whelp, and then disappear, and then they just conceded because they couldn't target her. You know, because she can't be targeted. She can't be damaged, but she can be destroyed with global effects.
Right.
Not targeted destroy effects, but if she happens to be damaged and she has immune, if there's anything that destroys just damaged minions, she'll be destroyed. But yeah, she's really, really strong. And I don't want to say I don't think she's going to get nerfed because I think she's an impactful 10-drop that does
at 10 going forward, do you see her being played regularly?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I think there's dragon decks. There's a control warrior deck that I've decided to put Raid Boss Onyxia in and place a Rattlegore. And it runs Vandar. So she can actually be reduced down to 7 mana.
Okay. All right.
And she's just she's better than a Brawl. She is a 10 mana board clear that also develops on the board at the same time.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Next up, we have another neutral legendary dragon, Kazakusan, who is an 8 mana 8/8 battle cry. If all minions in your deck are dragons, craft a custom deck of treasures.
So this card works just like Elysiana, where you're going to get 5 discovers. So you're choosing among 3 cards, and they're all treasures you get from duels. And if you want to slowly go through the next 3 slides, I have them all listed. But so you pick those 5. You pick one from each of those 5 discovers, and you get 2 copies of each one you picked. So your deck's going to have 10 cards, unless you get both the Blade of Quel'Dalar and the Hilt of Quel'Dalar, because then they will form into the Quel'Dalar weapon, and you'll get 2 copies of it, so your deck will now be 8. So if your opponent plays Kazakusan, As soon as they're done with their discover, hover over their deck. If they have 8 cards in their deck, that means they got Quell Delar. If they have 10 cards, that means they didn't get Quell Delar.
Okay.
They did make one change to one of the treasures, and only one of them had a change. It is, let me see if I can find it. Gnomish Army Knife. It's the 5 mana. It's on the first slide. Spell, give a minion Rush, Wind Fury, Divine Shield, Lifesteal, Poisonous, Taunt, and Stealth. It in duels, it gives charge instead of rush.
Oh, okay.
That's the only one that I've been able to identify that has been adjusted from its duels treasure. All the other ones that are in here, and this isn't all the treasures from duels. It's just a select pool. I think what do we got here? 10, 18, 24. If that's a full list, I wanted to say somebody said there were 33, but I'm not sure exactly. I believe this is a full list. It's very, very strong. The difference between Elysiana and Kazakusan is Elysiana gave you just cards.
Right.
Where Kazakusan gives you treasures.
And you discover
them.
Yeah.
So a lot of people thought this is just going to be in a control deck where you're going to avoid fatigue and have some tools to finish out a game. No. You're seeing druid decks and priest decks that are trying to get Kazakusan out as early as turn 5 or 6. Mm-hmm. And they're losing pretty much their entire deck, which is really designed just to get Kazakusan down faster. Their entire deck goes away just for these treasures, and these treasures you're picking treasures to win the game.
Right.
I think Kazakusan is well balanced. It is impactful in this Masters Tour. There are a lot of Kazakusan decks, and I think it's going to impact esports. But what they've done here is really, really clever, because if Kazakusan is imbalanced, too strong, mm-hmm. then they just change or get rid of some of the treasures.
Yeah.
And if Kazakusan is not as impactful as they want it to be, they can add some treasures. So I love this design because they can make some changes to Kazakusan. They can even change the drop rates that aren't going to impact changing the text on the card.
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's a fun mechanic. And
it's my favorite deck to play right now. It's Kazakusan Priest.
Yeah. All right. Moving on, we have a neutral epic, the Whelp Bonker. So this is a 3 mana 1/5 with Frenzy and Honorable Kill. Draw a card.
I want this to be good, but a honorable kill of 1 is really hard to do.
But a Frenzy is not when you have 5 health.
But you're only going to get the Frenzy 1 time.
And I mean, there are ways to bump its attack.
Yeah, but it's been proven that trying to bump an attack to meet what you're trying to attack into isn't always reliable. The only deck that would be reliable in is Buff Paladin.
That's what I was gonna say.
And you really don't want to play this in Buff Paladin. The only things you really want to
if anybody can find a Buff Paladin Raid Boss Onyxia deck with Whelp Bonker, I believe it would be you.
It could be me. Now, one interesting thing is somebody found that Whelp Bonker makes Onyxia immune.
And it has whelp in the name.
It has whelp in the name, and there's a whelp in the art. And I'm not sure exactly if they're just going off the name of the card, mm-hmm. because I think there's another one with whelp that's not giving her immune. So I'm not really sure if that's something they meant to do. Maybe because there's a whelp in the art.
Yeah.
It's kind of a flavor thing. They haven't really talked about it yet, but it is kind of interesting. It could be that whelp is the first word.
Patch. Yeah.
It could be because it's the first word in the name.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But it's probably something that'll get fixed in the patch. But not enough people are putting Walker in decks just to have that happen. To me, it's just not worth it.
All right, moving on, we have a neutral rare Gear Grubber. So this is a 4-mana 4/5 with taunt. If you end your turn with any unspent mana, reduce this card's cost by 1.
I'd play this if it was a 5/6.
Okay.
But to get a Yeti with taunt, just for playing suboptimally and floating mana the first few turns, just isn't worth it to me.
Okay.
Every deck, aggro deck, a control deck, tempo decks, even combo style decks, want to maximize their mana early turns. Yeah. Whether it's reducing cost of stuff in your hand or in your deck, or it's drawing cards, or it's developing minions to help you.
Yeah, genuinely, the only time you're going to not use all of your mana is going to be like turn 1. You may not have a play and you just pass.
Yeah. Possible. But even in today's meta, you really don't want to pass on turn 1 as any type of deck. So do I want to take up a deck slot for the off chance that I don't draw what I need early? No.
Yeah.
And plus, this is if you end your turn with any unspent mana, reduce this card's cost by 1. That's not this game. That has to be in your hand.
Right.
So not only do you have to play suboptimally, you also have to have this in your hand early enough in the game that this is impactful. Do you want to hold this in a mulligan? I wouldn't. So it's a bad card.
All right. Next up, we are talking, we have a neutral common, the Onyxian Warder. So this is a 5-mana 3/6 battle cry. If you're holding a dragon, summon 2 2/1 whelps with rush. So again, this is a dragon as well, so he fits into that tribe. And this is another way to bring whelps onto the board to refresh Raid Boss Onyxia's immune.
So right now there's not a lot of pure dragon decks, like a tempo style, build the board early dragon synergy decks. And I think once we have some rotation come up and we're kind of limited in the card pools, we're back to a 4-set meta, we might see those strategies start coming around again. However, I have picked this off Draconic Studies, and it is very useful with a card like Onyxia.
Okay.
So I've discovered this multiple times. It's made me think maybe there is room for a pure tempo style, play on curve dragon deck.
Yeah.
And it's not all like right now. I'm very low to the ground. I have 4 dragons in my Dragon Priest.
Yeah.
It's the 2 priest dragons, Onyxia and Kazakusan, and that's it.
Okay.
But maybe there's a world where you want to have more dragons and more synergies, and this would fit. So I want to say this is a 4-set meta card, but I'm excited to use it.
Okay. So now we're looking at Demon Hunter, and we're looking at a rare spell, Wings of Hate. So this is a rank card. We've seen these in past sets. It's 1 mana, summon 2 1/1 Fell Wings, upgrades when you have 5 mana. Rank 2 summons 3 1/1 Fell Wings, and the rank 3, which you get at 10 mana, summons 4 1/1 Fell Wings.
These needed to have rush to be impactful in the current Demon Hunter meta.
And they don't.
And they don't. So that's the problem with this card, because you want to play these minions, have them rush in to activate the Kurtrus hero card so you can keep refreshing your hero power to get 1 big attack.
Right.
Like you do with expendable performers. And it doesn't do that. It just develops 1/1s on the board, which
will probably get cleared on your opponent's turn.
Easily cleared. Might even play into honorable kills that might be detrimental to you. So I don't think this is good. I believe they are demons, so there are demon synergies with them, but Demon Hunter doesn't have a lot of like big demon synergies or buffs or anything specifically for demons at this time. So I don't think this is a good card.
Okay. Moving on, we have a Demon Hunter. We have 2 Demon Hunter commons. First up is a spell, Keen Reflex. 2 mana, deal 1 damage to all minions. Honorable kill, gain +1 attack this turn.
So I've heard some people say that you want to play Wings of Hate immediately into Keen Reflexes, and it gives you a bunch of attack because it's going to honorable kill all those minions.
I mean, that's possible, but that's 3 mana for potentially 4 attack.
4 extra attack, and it's an extra card slot.
Yeah,
that you may have to use earlier in the game. Also, Wings of Hate is not like a fell card, so it's not going to be played again by Jace.
Correct.
And Keen Reflexes is also not a fell card, so it's not going to be replayed by Jace. So I think Wings of Hate and Keen Reflexes are in a deck together, but I don't think that's now. And if it is, it's a bad deck. Yeah. So I think both of those cards are not really good.
Next up, we have a minion, the Razer Glaive Sentinel. This is a 4 mana 5/4. After you play the left or right most card in your hand, draw a card.
This is actually pretty good, especially when it's cheaper than 4 mana. And in the deck that this works well with is the Quest Demon Hunter, where your quest is to draw so many cards at a turn, and then those cards get reduced, and maybe Razor Glaive becomes 3 mana, and then you play Razor Glaive Sentinel followed by, a card in the outcast position, which is going to draw you a card, which is going to progress your quest, which eventually will reduce the cost of those cards, which allow you to play more cards on the far left or far right, which may allow you to progress your quest even further. It's really, right now in Master Store, we are seeing a Quest Demon Hunter have decent success, and I'm not seeing Razor Glaive Sentinel in that deck, but I think when it gets more refined and some of these pro players have a chance to look at it and see where can we take cards out and fit cards in, at least one copy of Razor Glaive Sentinel, say that 10 times fast, might have a home in that deck.
Okay. All right. I think it's fantastic. I've always said, for the last 6 years, we have said card draw is king. So, especially when your quest is draw more cards. So,
yeah, and ultimately, the next best thing to card draw is card cost reduction, and that Demon Hunter deck does both.
Yeah. Next up, we have Druid Rares. We have 2 minions here. First up is the Raid Negotiator. So this is a 4 mana 3/4 battle cry. Discover a choose 1 card. It has both effects combined.
This card has already been nerfed before the set released.
Yes, and I wanted to... Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. I had mentioned something about it last week because it was funny. It was Gallon, I believe, yes, on Twitter had said, we are making a change to the card that is, after they had made the images for the reveal. So tell them how this card was nerfed.
The original card was Battlecry, discover a choose 1 card. The next choose 1 card you play has both effects combined. And a lot of people were like, whoa, this is ridiculous. And I was reading in Discords the things you can do where you play this and then you have specific choose 1 cards where you get both combined, like Nourish or this and that. And before anybody could even go public with these theory crafting ideas, Gallon posts a tweet. The wrong image was put out. This was already... as it's already been balanced in final design. This is the new card, and it's discover a choose 1 card it has both effects combined.
Right.
So you can still get that powerful effect with specific choose one cards, but you have to get them offered to you.
Yeah,
you have to get them offered to you.
It can't be in your hand. It has to be discovered with this.
Yes. So, I mean, it is significantly less powerful, but it's still pretty powerful, just not right now. I think Ridiculous Hat mentioned it, that right now we are playing choose one cards, but nothing really impactful or big, and that we're not really in a choose one druid meta.
Yeah.
You don't rely on a lot of choose ones because they're not really that great. But again, when a 4-set meta happens, we start using cards in a thinner pool of available cards to us, with core changing and only 4 sets available to us. We might find some impactful choose one cards, and furthermore, more choose one cards might be revealed in the next set to complement this kind of gameplay.
Yeah. Speaking of choose ones, our next Druid Rare minion is also a choose one, and I want to shout out a friend of the show, Riv. He exclusively only plays Boomkins in World of Warcraft.
Yes.
And so this is the Boomkin. It's a 5-mana 4/5. Choose one, restore 8 health to your hero, or deal 4 damage. I called and told Riv, hey, your class is finally coming to Hearthstone.
Which is funny.
Your archetype is finally coming to Hearthstone. And he was like, I'm going to have to get that card and find some way to make it useful.
I've always found it funny because if I'm not mistaken, Boomkins weren't really a archetype or a build that Blizzard put into World of Warcraft. What it was there was a Moonkin form, which is this kind of like antlered owl creatures, and they primarily were used for your healing forms. However, if you spec your talents properly, you could put a lot of damage into Moonfires. Yeah. And basically you would transform into Boomkin and just spam Moonfire over and over and over again. And so they were playfully given the name Boomkins.
Yep.
And because instead of healing, they were doing damage. And it wasn't a highly desired spec, because if you're in a healing form, you should be healing. But some people just, that's the way they wanted to play. And I love that they're embracing this. Now, it's really cool. I like the way they worded this, because it's choose one, restore 8 health to your hero, or deal 4 damage. So if you get it off Raid Negotiator and you get both effects, you can target an enemy minion or enemy's face, but you'll still get the healing to your face.
Correct.
Because I think before there was one that had healing and damage, and it was weird. If the damage killed it, then it was fine, but the healing wouldn't keep it alive. But if it didn't, then it would also heal. But this was worded really well, so it would complement being able to combine those effects together.
Yeah. So, all right, moving on, we have a Druid Common, the Scale of Onyxia, 7 mana. Fill your board with 2/1 whelps with Rush. So this is just a 7 mana spell. Give a raid boss Onyxia immune again.
I wonder if Onyxia says, "My scale brings all the whelps to the yard."
Oh,
dang right, it's better than yours. I could teach you, but I'd have to. But I don't have.
This is what happens when we record late at night.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm coming up with these jokes.
Moving on to Hunter. We have a rare Hunter spell, the Dragonbane Shot. So it's a 2 mana, deal 2 damage, honorable kill, add a Dragonbane Shot to your hand. So
I love that my joke just disregarded any opinions I have about the card.
Yes, no, we're moving on. The joke was just so bad.
So Dragonbane Shot, this is kind of what Quest Hunter needed.
Yeah.
Because
It's
So-
repeatable damage if it's an honorable kill.
It's constant repeatable damage, and sometimes you play minions to kind of complement and give you a little bit of pressure.
Yep.
And you can safely put 2 health minions in there to use Dragonbane shot on them so you can continue your quest progression.
Yep.
And you can play this with an honorable kill and it will refresh your hero power, give you another copy, and then you can do it again. So this is a very versatile, flexible card for Quest Hunter. Quest Hunter got a couple tools this set, and I think there's not a lot of people trying out Quest Hunter yet because it's kind of an old archetype, but I think it might be one of the more consistent decks when people decide to start going away from like the Kazakusan style decks and have actually really good decks to play. I think Quest Hunter might end up being tier 1.
Okay. All right. Moving on, we have 2 Hunter common cards. First up, we have a 2-mana spell, Furious Howl. Draw a card. Repeat until you have at least 3 cards.
So a lot of people are putting this in Face Hunter and regretting it.
Okay.
Because it's getting locked behind other cards that are also drawing you cards. And they're finding it hard to get any benefit from this, or you get 2 copies of Furious Howl in your hand, and basically one draws you 1 less card.
Right. Do we feel like this has a place in Quest Hunter to help you refill your hand?
I do think Quest Hunter will want this.
Remove?
However, I think you only put 1 copy in Quest Hunter.
Okay.
Because, again, Quest Hunter's a little bit more drawn out. With Face Hunter, you're trying to do things really fast. And you might end up getting the 2 locked Furious Howls in your hand, but you don't want that.
Yeah.
So just the 1 would be enough. But I think if you're going to put this in a Hunter deck, it needs to be the Quest Hunter and not the Face Hunter.
Okay. All right. Next up, we have a Hunter Common Minion, the Pet Collector. This is a 5-mana, 3/3. Battle Cry. Summon a beast from your deck that costs 5 or less. I don't know that a 5-mana, 3/3 that's going to potentially summon a 1/1 beast is...
So, hear me out here. I think there is going to be a deck that runs Vandar that bottoms out at 5 cost minions, because Vandar being your only 4 cost, and you put some very pivotal 5 cost beasts in there. And then you also have some higher cost beasts that if they get reduced by 3 mana by Vandar, fall in like an 8 cost minion that's a beast, falls into that 5 slot, it will summon that from your deck. Do I think we have the meta that can support a big beast hunter? Right now, no. But those style of decks tend to be 4-set meta decks. Because you're not just because of the card pools that you have to pull from, but card pools that your opponents have to pull from to counter you. So right now it wouldn't be a good deck because there's so many variety of cards that your opponents could play that would counter that deck.
Right.
But when they have less options
to
counter it, it might work out well in April. I'm really, really excited to see, because cards like this have happened before where they've been released like in Kobolds and Catacombs and TGT and things like that, and they just were like, these are bad cards. But then when we rotated a bunch of cards out and we went to April, all of a sudden those cards became good.
Yeah.
Now, usually only for that set, but they dominated the meta. And I think Pet Collector's one of those cards.
Okay. Moving on to Mage, we have another legendary here. And I'm probably going to butcher the name because I always do. Hala. Matron Protectorate.
Holla at you. Hala.
8 mana, 4/12 dragon. After you cast a spell, deal 4 damage, randomly split among all enemies.
This is a jacked up. Oh, what was that?
Firebrand or
Not older than that. I could have told you.
Firewake,
Flame Wakers.
Flame Waker. That's it.
This is a Flame Waker jacked up on Mountain Dew. Right now, we don't have a way to cheat this out. The only way is another card we'll be talking about here shortly, but it's even more expensive than this card.
Yeah.
So you're not getting it out for less than 8 mana. And there are ways to possibly do that, but you'll have less control. There may be a deck that can utilize this.
Basically, to get maximum effect out of this, you would have to play this and have a couple of mana biscuits in hand at 0 mana.
And then play stuff on top of the mana biscuits with production.
You know, at best you're looking at like, you know, let's say you have 2 mana biscuits, that's 8 damage, plus a 2 mana spell, that's another, or even a 4 mana spell now, that's another 4 damage. So you're looking at 12, maybe 16 damage tops if you play 2 mana spells. I don't know. It's kind of...
Yeah, the really bad part of this is the 8 cost. So if we find a way to get this cheated out sooner...
Yeah.
Then maybe we have some kind of realm. I'm trying to see. Currently, there's a deck that it's an OTK with Mozaki. Mozaki. So what you would want to do with Hala is the same thing you're currently doing with Mozaki. Get cheap spells, repeat, do a bunch of damage. Where with this, you would get cheap spells, and instead of ramping up your spell damage, you're just doing that incremental damage like you do with Flamewaker.
Right.
The problem is, why would you make a deck like that when you already have Mozaki? So, this is, and I know I sound like a broken record here, this is another card that when Mozaki rotates out and we can't play Mozaki Mage anymore in Standard come April, and we have a smaller pool of cards, maybe there's room for Hala to kind of replace the Mozaki deck. Because right now, whatever we would do with Hala won't be as good as Mozaki Mage.
Right.
So we're not going to play an inferior deck to one that already exists. So let's see in April, when we can't play Mozaki Mage anymore, if there's some tools that allow us to kind of duplicate that style of play, but with Hala instead.
Next up, we have a Mage rare spell called Deep Breath. So this is a 5 mana fire spell. Deal 1 damage to a minion and its neighbors. Improved by number of other spells in your hand. So if you're holding 4 other spells, this is going to do 5 damage to a minion and its neighbors.
Yeah. So... in a big spell mage, maybe, but there's not really a big spell mage that kind of benefits from this style of card.
Mm-hmm.
And in your more combo-centric or control style mage that has a finisher, you'd rather play Fire Sale.
Right.
Because A, you can trade it, and B, you're doing damage to the entire board, not just 3 minions.
Yeah, exactly.
And in some cases, maybe just 2 minions, depending on how you have to target it. So,
yeah. All right. So, moving on, we have a Mage common spell called Drake Fire Amulet. So this is 10 mana. It is tradable. Discover 2 dragons, summon them.
So you can get this off on turn 7 with Clumsy Courier and get a Hala out on turn 7. The problem is, if you use Clumsy Courier to cast this, you don't get to discover the dragons. The Courier does.
Gotcha.
So you can cheat Hala out sooner, but it's
random.
It's RNG.
Yeah.
It becomes 2 random dragons that are mage or neutral instead of discover, because whenever another card casts a spell, it picks the random effects or discover effects, and so they become random at that point, within the discover pool, of course.
Right.
So I like this card, and you can get some really good dragons. Really, the dragon pool is pretty big. I've seen a lot of people that have tested this card out play it, namely Regis Kilbin. And my thought was, you're going to get a lot of really cheap or low cost of dragons, but most of the dragons he got were 8 cost or higher. And Proto Drake is in the pool, which is 8 cost, and has a death rattle to summon a 7 cost minion. So that's a death rattle. Now, battle cry minions, a lot of your high cost dragons have battle cries, and you don't get that. But you get the big bodies, either a 4/12 or 8/8 in most cases. Sometimes you might get a 12/12 in a rare case, but usually it's a 4/12 or 8/8. But if you get the Proto Drake, I mean, that's a good sticky minion, a big sticky minion.
Yeah. All right, moving on. We are looking at Paladin Rare. We have a minion here, the Battle Vicar. It's 2 mana, 1/3. Battle Cry, discover a holy spell.
I'm curious how this is going to be after Librams rotate, because your quality of holy spells are really going to go down at that point.
Yeah.
And we already have a minion, a 1/1 minion. I think it's a 1 cost 1/1.
Yeah.
That draws a holy spell. This doesn't draw a holy spell. This discovers a holy spell.
So it's outside of your deck, whereas the other one was thin in your deck. Yeah.
And a 1/3, a 2 mana 1/3 isn't terrible. I mean, obviously 1 mana 1/3s are great. 2 mana 1/3 isn't terrible, especially if you're discovering a holy spell that may be a Libram that's been reduced and you can cast it immediately. So there are some benefits here. I haven't had much time to play with Paladin yet. And some of the lists I've seen haven't put Vicar in there because there's such, whether you're talking about buff Paladin or Libram Paladin, the lists are so tight right now. It's like, what do you remove? So obviously when Libram Paladin goes away because of rotation, and buff Paladin has open slots because some of those rotated cards open up, buff Paladin will still be viable to play because a lot of those cards are from this, the sets from 2021, a Year of the Griffin. When that happens, there may be room for Battle Vicar. Hopefully we get some more holy spells that are viable that replace the Librams. I'll be honest, I'm really worried about Paladin when Librams go away.
Okay. Next up, we have 2 Paladin common cards. First up, we have a spell, Ring of Courage. It's 2 mana, tradable, give a minion +1/+1, repeat for each enemy minion. This sounds pretty good.
And I think it is going to be really good. There is I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head. For some reason, my browser's not wanting to work for me. But I think it's a 2 mana Paladin minion that doubles any effects that are on it.
Oh, Sade Scarlet?
Yeah. So it might be 3 mana.
He's 3 mana. It's
3 mana 2/2. Whenever this minion gains attack or health, double that amount.
Yeah.
So Sidan the Scarlet. So give a minion +1/+1, repeat for each enemy minion. That doubles that.
Yeah.
So this is very dependent on the meta. If there's a heavy board focused meta, then maybe putting this on a taunt or something like that, or even a Sidan would be really good. Also, it's tradable.
Yeah.
So if you don't need it at that exact moment, or your opponent hasn't developed, or maybe they're not playing a deck that develops, it's card draw.
Right.
So I think this in buff Paladin, it's definitely an auto include. Okay. It doesn't have the holy moniker though.
Right. It doesn't. It's just a generic spell.
See, and I wish it was holy, because then you could draw into it with your holy draw cards or your holy generators.
Yeah.
The fact that it's not holy does reduce the value a little bit, but it's still a good card.
Yeah. Then we have a minion, common minion, the Stormwind Avenger. So this is a 3-mana 1/5. After you cast a spell on this minion, it gains +2 attack.
So I've heard a lot of people say, oh, you just keep chaining Libram Wisdom and all that. However, they forget that it has to die for you to get the Libram Wisdoms back.
Correct.
Unless you get something that generates a bunch of them, things like that. But I still think in a buff-style Paladin that this is good. Because in buff Paladin, a lot of your hand buffs are not spell-based. But you do have a lot of buffs that are spell-based that you put in that deck. And obviously, Libram Paladin would be good too. Both of those lists right now are so tight, I don't know what you would pull. But I think both of those cards that we talked about are good. And I think will be definitely used in April when we get the next rotation.
All right. We have our last legendary of this mini set.
Yes.
The Priest legendary, and it is Midah Pure Light. So this is a 6-mana 4/6 Divine Shield and Lifesteal. Death Rattle. Shuffle a fragment into your deck that resummons Midah when drawn.
So this is like a better Waxadread?
Yeah.
Which was a rogue, which is a 7/5 dragon and rogue that resummon itself whenever it drew its cast spell.
Yeah.
Cast withdrawn spell. However, the difference is Midah actually has a good board presence with having Divine Shield and Lifesteal. Doesn't have Taunt, which I wish it did.
I think it would be broken with Taunt.
It would be broken. It would be. But with Divine Shield and Lifesteal, it's very sticky. They have to do a lot to get rid of it. You might gain a lot of life. Also, the spell, the fragment that shuffles in is holy. Meaning anything that draws a holy spell, it's a 6-cost holy. Anything that draws a holy spell or discovers a holy spell from your deck will draw this and then cast when drawn, and then you'll draw another card and summon Midah.
Right.
Midah. I'm not sure how you say it, but you're going to have a lot of Midahs in there. Plus, the Zyrella hero card activates all the death rattles. So if the Pure Light has died multiple times from being summoned, it will then shuffle all that many death rattles
more fragments. Yeah.
In a fragment. So it might have died 4 or 5 times, and then all of a sudden you play Zyrella, and now you have 4 or 5 fragments in the deck that are just going to keep summoning.
Yeah. Yeah,
so I think it's strong.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing Priest with this and checking it out. Next up, we have a Priest Rare Minion, the Light Maw Nether Drake. So this is a 4-mana 4/4 dragon. Battle Cry, if you're holding a holy and a shadow spell, deal 3 damage to all other minions.
Yeah, so I think we've seen this effect before, except they've been on 4-mana 3/3s.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you played one and then you had to play another to finish off the board, your original one died. However, with this, with the Light Maul Nether Drake, if you play the Light Maul Nether Drake on, say, turn 8, and then have to play another one to finish off the rest of your opponent's minions, the first one will survive as a 4/1 still.
Yep.
Which is pretty strong board presence. That hasn't been talked about a lot with this card. And I've ran into that situation multiple times. Now, it does have a steep activation of having a holy and a shadow spell. However, the deck that I'm playing right now, it has been very rare that I haven't been able to meet this.
Okay.
I think there's only been like one game where it impacted me where I didn't have a shadow spell. I only had a holy, and I wasn't able to clear the board, and I lost.
Yeah.
Now, currently, that deck, last I checked, I think I had over 25 games, and I was sitting at 67% win rate with it. And a lot of that is from this card specifically being able to clear such a definitive board.
Yeah, yeah.
Three health is a break point that is hard to get by sometimes because a lot of your board colors are 2 health, and the 3 health is perfect.
Yeah. All right, moving on to a priest common spell, the Horn of Wrathion. So this is a 3 mana, draw a minion. If it's a dragon, summon 2 2/1 whelps with rush.
This card's amazing. I was not convinced that, even if you put only dragons in your deck, summoning those 2 2/1 whelps, what's that going to do? Well, in a control-based strategy, a lot of times your opponent's going to put out a one cost minion and then follow it up with a 2 cost minion. And a lot of those cases, those 2 minions have 2 or less health. And so on 3, you play this, you draw a minion, maybe you draw a Nether Maw to be able to clear a board, but you also develop 2 2/1s to clear those initial minions. So now they have to start over, and if they do start over, you Nether Maw them and clear their entire board.
Yeah, yeah.
So this card has developed me into the mid game to lock my opponent out so that by the time we get to the end game, I have time to do things like play Kazakusan because my opponent is still trying to recover from the 2 boards I was able to clear.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty good. Next up, we have a rogue rare spell, Smokescreen. So this is an 8 mana spell. Draw 5 cards. Trigger any death rattles drawn.
So this card in Rogue costs too much and requires too stringent a deck building requirement. But I have a prediction. This is going to get Luna's Pocket Galaxied.
Ooh.
I believe Team 5 is going to look at this and say, hey, we need to make balance changes. We want Smokescreen to be viable. We want Smokescreen to be played. They're going to reduce the cost down to 6. And it's going to be absolutely broken at 6 cost, and then they'll raise it up to 7.
So do we think when we hit a 4-set meta, the new set that comes out in April could bring about a Death Rattle Rogue that will then see this card played at 6 mana?
Yeah, I think if this is still 8 mana at that time, it doesn't happen. But then the next balance patch after, they might put some buffs in. And I think they would consider making this 6 mana. And I think that would be a mistake. Because I think at 6 mana, this would be absolutely broken. And with a 4-set meta, right now, if they made it 6 mana, I think it still doesn't get played.
Okay.
But if they make it 6 mana in a 4-set meta, I think it gets played. And I think it becomes very dominant, like Luna's Pocket Galaxy was.
Okay.
And it may have to get reverted up to back to 8 or maybe to a middle ground of 7. They may think ahead of this, learning from Luna's Pocket Galaxy, and just reduce it down to 7. And I think if they do that in a 4-set meta and we get some decent death rattles, not even great, fabulous ones, just some decent ones, that I think at 7 mana it'll be playable.
Okay. Moving on, we have 2 rogue commons. First up, we have a minion, the SI7 Smuggler. It's a 3 mana 1/3 battle cry. Summon a random minion with cost equal to the amount of SI7 cards you've played this game.
This card's good. I had it played against me. I think it summoned an 8 cost. I think it was a Proto Drake, if I'm not mistaken. And I lost the game. It's kind of what the Quest Rogue needed for board pressure. They had plenty of SI cards that dealt with the board and gave a little bit of board pressure, but nothing like major. This gives you some big bursty board pressure.
I also want to point out this is probably my favorite art in the set. It's an SI7 agent dressed as a whelp hiding amongst dragon eggs. It's fantastic.
The costume kind of looks like the girl from Monsters, Inc.
Yeah, it does.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. All right. Then we have a common rogue spell, Tooth of Nefarian. So this is a 3 mana, deal 3 damage, honorable kill, discover a spell from another class. So this is that deal 3 damage breakpoint you were talking about a minute ago. As for health, and if you honorable kill, you get to discover a spell. What do you think?
I'm hearing a lot of people talk about if Maestro Rogue or a Burgle Rogue actually played Burgle cards, this would be great. But they're missing something. This says deal 3 damage.
Yeah.
It can go face.
It can.
And Rogue likes to go face. and spell damage minions are getting cheaper and cheaper, that this might not be 3 damage even.
Yeah.
This might be a finish card. Now, at 3 mana for a 3 damage finisher, it's not premium. But when you have the flexibility of also being able to use it for removal and also develop you other cards, other tools on top of that, the flexibility would allow me to put this in a deck. Now, that would be more of a tempo-based rogue, and that doesn't exist right now. But Tempo Rogue's been good in the past. So when we get back, and I know I keep saying this, when we get to a 4-set meta, when we're restricted on the type of rogue cards we can put in our deck, maybe Tempo Rogue becomes the rogue to play, and Tooth and Nefarian would be a great fit.
Okay. Moving on, we have 2 Shaman Rares. They're both spells, and they're both from different tribes. So first up, we have Bracing Cold. This is a 2 mana frost spell. Restore 5 health to your hero. Reduce the cost of a random spell in your hand by 2.
So this kind of falls in the line of either a control style shaman or a combo style shaman, or of course a control style shaman as a combo that's spell based.
And we've seen a lot of, we saw a lot of Frost Shaman back at the beginning of Alterac Valley.
We did, however, that Frost Shaman was very minion based. Not a lot of spells. So the spell reduction on this would get lost. And all it does is heal. It doesn't actually clear the board, or develop your board, or manage incoming pressure other than just healing. 2 mana for 5 healing, that's pretty overcosted considering Priest gets 5 healing for free, or 1 mana at the most.
Yeah.
Now, it does reduce the cost of a random spell in your hand by 2, and anything that reduces the cost of cards in your hand can be very impactful. The problem is, what do we reduce? How do we raise the likelihood it reduces the right card, which in most cases would mean more minions in the deck and only specific spells? But then what spells do we need to reduce that are going to win us the game? We don't have that right now in Shaman. But we might. So this is a card we want to keep on our radar, because anything that reduces the cost of any cards in your hand needs to be remembered when sets come out.
Yeah. All right. And the next card, it's only taken 8 years, but we finally got a card based around the single most important axiom in all of role-playing games: don't stand in the fire. So this is a 5 mana fire spell. Deal 10 damage, randomly split among all enemy minions. Overload 1.
I thought the most important axiom in role-playing games was don't forget to tip your innkeeper. Oh, I guess this one was more known. Yeah. So 10 damage for 5 cost is pretty good. I would think about Volcano. It was more damage, but it was more cost.
Yeah.
Overload is not detrimental anymore because of Quest. You actually want Overload cards now.
Right.
This is a, and plus this goes to all enemy minions, so your minions are going to be safe. unlike a card like Volcano.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is good in a control style quest shaman. But right now Quest Shaman is not very control-y. It's more of a tempo curve stone style. So maybe if Quest Shaman gets a combo style finisher, maybe you want to put this in there to get to the end game, and maybe you have Bracing Cold in there to reduce the cost of certain spells for a combo. I don't know. I think both of these cards have great potential, and I'm definitely going to keep my eye on Shaman when new cards come out this coming next set rotation.
Okay. Then we have a Shaman common spell called Spirit Mount. So this is a 2 mana, give a minion +1/+2 and spell damage +1. When it dies, summon a Spirit Raptor.
So this is the mounts that a lot of, I think it was just the Alliance side characters got.
Yeah.
Zyrilla got one, Tavish got one. And the minion, the raptor that comes out of this death rattle after the minion dies is going to have the same stats as the buff, so 1/2.
Yeah.
And it will have spell damage +1. A problem with a lot of those mounts are sticking a minion to be able to play this. The ones that have been successful are the ones that are low costed, like the Paladin one. However, Shaman's hero power summons a minion.
Yes, it does.
So you're always going to have a minion. And the only other mount that has been highly successful has been the Paladin one. And Paladins have a hero power that does what? Summons a minion.
Yeah.
So
I want to point out that this is one of the cards our co-host Matt at Arms said could be a standout.
I think it will
in this set.
I think it will. I think if right now Burn Shaman is a good deck, but it's like a solid tier 2 deck. Some people are saying it's tier 1, but it really depends on the meta. I think Burn Shaman with a well-timed Spirit Mount, having that +1 spell damage on a minion that when it dies, there's still going to be a minion with +1 spell damage in the board, so they have to clear that minion twice, essentially, could really wrap up a lot of damage. If you think about it, 2 mana adds 1 extra damage to every one of your spells. So if you're going to play 3 damage spells after playing this, you've then paid for the cost of this and 1 more.
I mean, Blood Mage Thalnos is a 2 mana 1/1.
Yep.
With spell damage +1. Here they have to kill it. You're putting it on a minion, and then they have to kill it, and then they have to kill it again.
Yeah.
So you're not drawing a card, you're just gaining the stickiness.
And it's a 1/2 body instead of a 1/1. So
yeah, that's true.
That's harder to kill. And that's a 1/2 body twice. It's not like Reborn where it comes back with 1 health.
Right.
So it's a 1/2 additional body to whatever you play it on. So if you play it on a 1/1 totem or a 0/2 totem, that now it's a 1/4 they have to clear, then they have to clear a 1/2 or that spell damage stays on the board.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. We're almost done. We've got Warlock here. 2 rares, both spells. First up, we have Curse of Agony. It's a 1 mana shadow spell. Shuffle 3 agonies into the opponent's deck. They deal fatigue damage when drawn.
This is my favorite card that's not a legendary in the set. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but essentially, they're going to take that fatigue damage without being a fatigue. So you shuffle 3 agonies. The first one they draw, they're going to take a damage. Then they'll take 2. Then they'll take 3. And then if you play this again, then they'll take 4, then 5, then 6.
But that's not it. That's not all, though, because if you actually draw the game out to fatigue,
it'll pick up, yeah.
The first card they draw in fatigue will be for 7 if you've played both.
And you might play more.
That's true.
Because this is a shadow spell, and Tamsin, the 3-mana 1/3, whenever you play a shadow spell that costs 1 or more, you get a copy of that costs 0. So you can essentially play Tamsin, Curse of Agony, Curse of Agony, Curse of Agony, Curse of Agony for 5 mana total. And that summons 12 or shuffles 12 of those agonies in their deck that's going to take the fatigue damage.
Yes.
So a lot of people are putting this in a Ticketus deck, where you're destroying their deck and then following it up with with Tamsin and Curse of Agonies. So all they have in their deck, because it's empty, all they have now are Curse of Agonies.
Yeah.
So they're gonna draw, which is gonna make them take fatigue, and it's a cast one draw. So they'll draw and again and again,
yeah.
And then they just die.
Yep. Sounds like fun to me.
Now, is that better than what Warlocks are playing now, the current Quest Warlock? No. But when we get to rotation, we'll see. I want to play this deck, and I haven't sat down and built a deck on it yet, but I want to.
Yeah. Next up, we have another spell, Imp Festation. So this is a 6-mana fail spell. Summon a 3/3 Dread Imp to attack each enemy minion.
It's just like the Druid spell. I forget, was that Infestation? I can't remember. The summon, a 1/5 taunt for every minion your opponent has.
Oh yeah, plague something. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember. This is not that.
No.
This is not. It's not good.
Summon a 3/3 imp for each enemy minion, and it attacks.
And it attacks it.
Right.
And a lot. What if it's a 3/4? Then it leaves it with 1 health.
Right.
It's not good.
Yeah.
You really need your opponent to have 4 or more minions that this will kill to get 6 mana worth of value. And in the current meta, that's just not happening.
Yeah. Then we have a Warlock common minion, the Spawn of Deathwing. So this is a 5-mana 6/6 dragon, battle cry, destroy a random enemy minion, discard a random card.
I think there was a Dragon and Hunter that did this, and it was really, really good.
Yeah.
Now, it didn't discard a card, but Warlocks tend to be fine with that.
But I mean, even with the discarded card, it's a 5-mana 6/6 destroy a random enemy minion.
It's good, and if we're in a meta that goes tall, where your opponents are playing one big minion a turn, then this is amazing. I don't think we're in that meta right now, but I still think this is a good card. Yeah. Now, whether the current archetypes have room for it, I don't think it does. I think this builds a new deck. Maybe there's a Dragon Warlock somewhere. And in that case, this would be great. I think it's a good card. I think we're going to see it used when rotation hits, like a lot of these cards.
Right.
I like it.
Okay. Moving on, we have a Warrior Rare spell, Shoulder Check. It's 1 mana, tradable, give a minion +2/+1, and rush.
There's too many good tradable cards that do better, have better effects than this, like Provoke and the Armor one that gives 3 mana for 8 armor. And there's also heavy armor. And there's also too many good rush minions to include in a deck. You're not going to play this on a rush minion because it already has rush.
Right.
So I don't think this is a good card.
Okay.
That's just my thought on it.
We'll have to see. Then we've got 2 Warrior Commons. First up, we have a spell, Hit It Very Hard. It's 1 mana, gain +10 attack, and can't attack heroes this turn.
This is a better execute.
Okay.
There's so many people that are making a big deal about the attack and how to figure out a way to combo it into an OTK. And truthfully, there's so many times you want to include execute in your deck, but you're like, I don't have an activator for execute, so it's not a good removal. It'll be a dead card in my hand. Well, this is it's an execute that doesn't require a minion to be damaged on any minion that has 10 or less health.
Yeah.
So it's removal. It's good removal. It may even be better than Shield Slam.
That's okay. All right.
Now, mind you, you have to take that face damage.
Yeah.
But Warriors never had a problem with that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And last but not least, we have a warrior common minion, the Onyxian Drake. So this is a 4-mana, 4/5 dragon with taunt and a battle cry. Deal damage equal to your armor to an enemy minion. It's
Shield Slam.
Shield Slam on a stick.
On a stick. I think you're gonna want to have dragons in your deck and need dragon activators, and this would be a dragon activator that also doubles as removal.
Yep.
In a control style deck. I think in just a regular control warrior, there's too many good tools that are better than Onyxian Drake. But if you're trying to meet that so many dragon requirements so that you can, make sure to activate certain dragon cards, then Onyxian Drake's a good fit into that.
Yep.
When you're going, hey, let me take my current control warrior, take out all the non-dragons, and replace them with dragons so I can activate these dragon synergies. And that would be where Onyxian Drake falls in.
Okay. All right. Well, that's it. That is the Onyxia's Lair mini set. And I think that's going to do it for us this week. We would love to know your thoughts on the Onyxia's Lair mini set. What are your favorite cards? What are things you want to try? If you let us know at heropowerpodcast@gmail.com. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button below on YouTube. And we'll see you all next time.
And don't forget to use your hero power 3 times.